Ladies and gentlemen, big hairy news.
Hey, kia ora koutou whānau. Welcome back to another edition of Big Hairy News. Kia ora, Chewie love. How are you, mate?
I am not bad. Yourself, Pat?
Well, I'm doing all right. This is my last BHN for a couple of weeks as I step up to the, it's not a microphone, is it? I don't know. What do you step up to when you're getting married? Step up to the
Your wife?
celebrant? Step up to the wife.
Your wife. You have to beat her. No. You have to beat her in
Hey,
single combat.
hey.
No, I'm thinking of something else.
Hey.
Ignore me. I don't know.
So you guys probably all know this already. I'm getting married on Saturday and then I'm off for a couple of weeks. I'm going to drive the country, head up to Waitangi and spend Waitangi Day at Waitangi this year and then drive all the way back down again. So we'll see you Christchurch and then Picton and then Wellington and then Rotorua and then Auckland and then Paihia. And then as we come back down, it's to Taupō, down to Wellington, back to Christchurch, back home. So there you go. So I'm off after tonight, so I'm quite excited about that. And yeah, really looking forward. It's funny, we were talking today and we were like, there's always a part of you with these big days, like whether it's Christmas or, a 21st or a massive anniversary, or whatever, and you kind of go, oh, looking forward to this being over. Not because it's like a bad thing, but it's like, it's just all consuming at the moment. So yes, we are both very excited about the day and also very excited about getting into the car on Sunday morning and going away. It's going to be great.
Nice.
Yes. Chewie, before we kick off the show tonight, I would like you to know that on Monday, we decided to be bold and say to people, we have plans for this year. And if you'd like to be a part of those plans, we're just going to lay it out in front of you now. You know, as we're watching places like NZME have to relieve 40 people of their incomes, that we are going to say, we're looking for patrons. We're looking for you to come on board. We would like to see if we can get 100 new patrons by, and I said in the next couple of months. So I guess that technically means what? Because we're basically end of January, February, March. So by the end of March, like 100 new patrons by the end of March. That's what we started to put out there. And of course, if you are a patron, you already know all of this and you're a user of the site. There we go, patreon.com/Big Hairy News. I've already updated the finishing credits once this week because of the Patreon
You're
uptake.
making him work for it, chat.
And now I'd like to say a big thanks to to SB, to Amanda Jennings, to Robin Kappa. Remember, we've already done one of these this week. To Matthew Rogers, to Tom Lewis, to Raywin, to Brian Peters, to Kathy Cuppers, to Mama Mac, to Daniel Trebsch, to Nick, to Anne, to Susan Elliott Trainer. I need to take a breath. To Barbara, to Kiwi Wolf, to Tani Nicola, to Roberta Pompey, to John Newman, to C.E. Handley, to Arwen, to Wooming. It's a long struggle up this hill. To Azaria Chapman, to Ruth Copping, to Noah, to Mirav B. Naya, to Deb E. Wrights, to Melly Pop. I don't know if I saw that one. That might be a new one that I haven't put in there. So I might have even missed you out, Melly Pop. I apologise. I'll go and check that afterwards. To Abigail Lie Shout and to Kath at Waiheke, who since Tuesday are all new patrons here in BHN.
Dang.
And if we and I'm only saying Melly Pop if I have missed you out because I enter all the things in and I don't remember typing up Melly Pop. It's the kind of one you would remember. So if it's not in the credits, I'll make sure it gets fixed for next week, Melly. And also, can I say to Rochelle and to Domi, Angelo Leiloli, and to Erin McFlynn, who are all been patrons for a while and they're up to their patronage in the last wee while. Since we put this out on Monday night, so what's that, Monday? So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that's 3 days, 72 hours. We have had 34 brand new patrons and we have 6 people change their patronate layers to be paying a bit more. 40 people altogether. So I'm pretty dumbfounded, actually, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, cheers to your patrons, and thank you very much for being a part of this. We said it before, and I don't want to bang your brains around it for this week too much, but we have plans for this year. And one of the things that our plans requires is for us to know that we can, for example, pay XYZ in 6 months from now. Patrons come on board. Look, the merch store is amazing. Merch store drops us some money immediately. It's fantastic, and we really appreciate it. Even some of the advertising revenue on YouTube, as small as it is, super chats are amazing. Super chats we get far more super chats than we do actually advertising revenue. But it's the patrons who I can look forward and say there are 350 people this month, so I'm hoping there's going to be 355 next month, which means I know that there's this much coming in. I know, for example, we can now go and get the printer fixed. So we can then start up our merch thing again, which will then support what we're doing and perhaps bring on some more people and some more shows, which is what we're talking about. So I'm not doing a hard sell. I'm just being honest with you and also saying thank you so much to the people who have signed up this week. Thank you so much to people who are patrons already and have been patrons for a while. It's amazing. And finally, we are going to have a meetup, a Patreon in real life meetup at Waitangi. So I don't know how that's going to work yet. I don't know where it's going to be yet, but if you are a patron and you're going to be in or around Waitangi Day, we will do a meetup somewhere, and come along. Okay, big news to start the show there, Chewie. Nice. Tonight we are going to be having a look at a story we sort of touched on last night, but the concerns by some in the medical world that we might be getting an anti-choice government when it comes to women's reproductive rights. They're being very, very, no, not us, not us. But I kind of still, we all know that Christopher Luxon said that, this is a quote, abortion is tantamount to murder, end quote. And so then you got to actually say, if you had the availability to stop a murder, would you do it? And we have to trust that Mr. Luxon's going, no, I'll let that murder happen. So, there are concerns by some. We'll have a look at that tonight. We also are going to open up Discord. Hopefully it's working. I haven't tested it this year. Sometimes the computer changes little settings and it doesn't work, but towards the end of this hour, we're going to open up Discord. If you want to come and have a chat with us, face to face or mic to mic or however you want to do it, jump into Discord. I'll get to that after we speak with Craig Renney, who's coming up next. And then we can actually have a chat with you about the year, what's been going on, what's going to come, etc. Chewie, sir, is there anything you want to get out before we get going?
Yes, good picking. I guess you saw what I had queued up. I just needed to show you this that is doing the rounds on Reddit and various other places. It happened in Berlin last night.
Can you blow it up even? Blow it up a bit more if you can?
An activist group called Led by Donkeys. Shit, where did I put that? Where is it from?
Control scroll in.
Yeah, I've got to find out what window I'm in. Stop it, you're making me panic.
There we go.
A group called Led by Donkeys projected Elon's little gesture, his odd gesture, and the word Heil in front of Tesla on the Berlin Gigafactory. Brilliant. Led by Donkeys. Well done.
All right. The anti-donkey when it comes to information, this is the smooth segue, mate. This is the anti, so like what's the opposite of a donkey? I don't know. Let's just say a huge welcome to the show. First time for this year. First time of many, hopefully, for 2025 from the CTU economist, Craig Renney. Craig, good evening to you, sir.
Good evening. I've been called many things in my life, but the anti-donkey is right up there. Thank you.
T-shirt, the anti-donkey. That's quite good. Okay. I quite like that. As opposed to Elon Musk, the Antichrist. All right. We should have a chat with you. How was your break, by the way? How was holidays? How was Christmas?
I was great, thank you. The weather here in Wellington was terrible, but can't complain. I'm from Newcastle. It's currently snowing in the northeast of England, so no complaints.
we have got you on today. Sorry, I'm just doing 10 things at once, which I always seem to be doing, because we want to have a look at the state of the nation, which is, I don't know, it's all politicians. It feels very kind of, Mr. Luxon, important state of the nation. It's obviously based on the State of the Union in the US. It's just, dude. Hey guys, let's talk about this year. It's just a bit ridiculous. But we want to have a talk about it because he talked about it today, and we've got a story off Stuff. Labour responded to it. There's a bunch of facts and figures in the Stuff article. Maybe we can have a look at this all together and then we can talk to it. So here is 3 News, stuff.co.nz, and their report on Christopher Luxon licking his top lip. No, Christopher Luxon and the state of the nation.
His wake time precedes him.
The Prime Minister of New Zealand, Mr. 4:30 a.m, oat milk, trim, flat white, Christopher Luxon.
Christopher Luxon, the crack of dawn Prime Minister, bringing his breakfast energy to a business lunch.
And I want New Zealand to be a country of aspiration, of ambition, and of opportunity.
Yes, the focus today was laser.
Well, I'm here today to talk about the economy and almost nothing else.
Because it's not looking that great. Benefit numbers are going the very wrong way to hit the government's...
I don't know if that was Mr. Luxon's segue he wanted, but certainly stuff.co.nz, that was quite a slick segue into what they wanted to say. Let's just get that again, that slick segue. Here we go.
Nothing else.
Because it's not looking that great. Benefit numbers are going the very wrong way to hit the government's target of 50,000 fewer job seekers, with 213,321.
Craig, give us a perspective on that. I mean, Chewie showed us a graph last year that had a spike in unemployment at the global financial crisis, and then a spike in unemployment at COVID, and then the biggest spike of all was the last kind of 12 to 18 months under this government with none of those world crises. So can you give us a context at this number of unemployed right now and what it means and like what we should be?
Well, what we should be looking at is where we were just a couple of years ago, where we saw unemployment at 3%. And we saw the numbers of people on job seeker support heading for 5 figures rather than 6 figures. And the real challenge here is the number of people who are on job seeker support or other forms of benefits for longer than a year, because those groups are then the hardest to get back into work. And what we're seeing with record numbers of people entering job seeker support is that the job of government gets harder, but actually they're putting fewer resources into helping those people then get back into work. They're just parking them on job seeker essentially and saying that's fine. So with unemployment, we know continuing to rise in the future. We anticipate unemployment rising to about 5.5% by the middle of this year. That number is going to continue to grow, and it represents 213,000 families where there's somebody out of work, there's a household without an income, and those are people who, in a normal economy, where we see growth or we see unemployment being lower, that number would be far lower. It would be heading towards the 140s rather than being 213.
When a government says our target's 114, at the moment they're at 213, I think we've quoted you a few times by you said this once before when you were on, that kind of a 4% unemployment could be expected at this time. Anything over that is a choice that this government is making. If you stand by that, does this government look at this and do they go, that's okay, we're going to get it to 140 at some stage? Or is this setting their ninth floor PR team's heads on fire looking at these numbers?
Oh, both is the honest answer. Their 9th floor PR team, and it's the 8th floor, so the PR team for the Prime Minister. But they'll be running around saying, well, how do we sell this as good news? But what they've done by their actions, removing the Reserve Bank mandate for maximum employment, by taking away support and that was put during COVID and other programs to help people back into work, by taking away the first year free for tertiary education, by halving the support for apprentices at the last budget. All of these things are actions that say clearly the government doesn't care about the number of people on job seekers, otherwise it wouldn't have done those things. Otherwise it would actually be doing actively the opposite.
Yeah.
Now, 4% represents in New Zealand. There's a technical phrase. Forgive me, gents. The non-accelerating inflation rate of unemployment, if you believe it, which basically is that's about as low as you can get unemployment before inflation starts to go up. That's the theory. Plenty of people don't believe it, but that's the Treasury's view of what that number is. Unemployment now in New Zealand's 4.8%, rising further. There are plenty of things we could be doing to reduce that number, but we're not.
All right, let's keep going with the story because Labor does have a response to this as well.
People now on a job seeker benefit, an increase of nearly 24,000 compared to the same period last year. That's despite benefit sanctions more than doubling in the same period, with 13,518 applied in the September quarter, up 7,000.
Better days lie ahead. And that if
Unless you're on a benefit getting sanctioned by this government
fucking
more
hope
harshly
they do.
than anybody else. Better days.
They're pretty
you're
grim
prepared
now.
to work hard, this country is an outstanding place to make that happen.
But we need more jobs. Luxon's eyeing up minerals,
Mining needs to play a much bigger role in the New Zealand economy.
declaring New Zealand open for business,
Growth means that there's a place for you.
starting with a new dedicated investment agency.
We have agreed to establish Invest New Zealand as the government's one-stop shop for attracting foreign direct investment.
John Key established something similar post the Christchurch earthquakes, Invest Christchurch.
Did you look at Invest Christchurch and how successful it was, and can you tell us how successful that model was?
Look, it wasn't. I was more interested in a national solution, and for me,
Did you notice their old mate on the right-hand side, whose name's just jumped out of my head? What's her name again, Chewie? On the right.
Judith Collins.
Judith Collins. Sorry, name just jumped out.
That-
Did you notice as soon as the question started, she started shaking her head? Did you notice that? Judith Collins, have a look again.
Christchurch.
Did you look at Invest Christchurch and how successful it was, and can you tell us how successful that model was?
look, it wasn't. I was more interested in a national solution, and for me, my stimulation came from Ireland.
The PM set to host an international...
Just quietly, I don't ever need to hear the words "my stimulation came from Mr. Luxon as long as I freaking live. Let's just make that really clear. I do never want to hear anything about where Mr. Luxon's stimulation came from. And nothing about the back door again, Chewie. We've banned that. We're not having that anymore, okay? Stop.
National Investment Summit in March, hoping global funds will fly plane loads of cash in with them.
There's a heap of money out there in the world. It's a wash
But do we
with
actually
world.
have projects ready to
Yeah,
go?
we do.
Like what?
Can I help with that
Yes,
one,
sorry.
Prime Minister? Look, this is actually about getting money into
Do we have any projects ready to go? Yeah, we do. And before he gets to put his foot any further in it, Judith Collins. Oh, can I hear what she said? Can I help with that one? Can I help because Mr. Luxon needs help? Because we've got heaps of projects. Like what? Well, what I would say to you is, Judith.
It's a wash
But do we
with
actually
world.
have projects ready to
Yeah,
go?
we do.
Like what?
Can I help with that
Yes,
one,
sorry.
Prime Minister? Look, this is actually about getting money into the science and innovation areas.
Going all in on science, merging the 7 Crown Research Institutes into 3 and scrapping Callaghan Innovation.
What's going to be in place instead, absolutely focused on new technologies like quantum and AI and gene tech.
While National talked to the suits, Labor was still in its jandals.
Oh, they're great. You're forming my feet. Glad I cut my toenails. Look, it's a fairly relaxed way to start the year for us. It's our summer retreat, if you like.
After a year-long listening tour, they've learnt why Kiwis turned up their nose at the election.
But we also heard some home truths from them.
Sorry, we've got to get into this now, but Chewie, do you think they've heard? Based on what we were talking about before the show, do you think they've listened and heard well?
I don't think so. It's
All right, well-
my gut feeling, and we'll get into that a bit more later. I think they've got half of it.
Yeah, more of that a bit later.
That they felt that across our 6 years in government, we'd often overpromised and underdelivered.
But are now convinced that the public has already had enough of the coalition.
2024 was also, though, the year that New Zealanders got to see the character of this government. And it's pretty clear
Fair.
that they didn't like what they saw.
And despite the attire, it's time to get down to business, giving voters an alternative.
But we will be ramping up the pressure on this government.
Hipkins warning his caucus to focus on the basics: health, education, economy.
The other thing that we've got to do is make sure that we're calling out the politics of distraction. There is nothing this government wants more than for New Zealanders to be focused on culture wars.
The Prime Minister, of course, has the same goal, but his governing juggling act might make it harder to achieve.
Speaking of David Seymour, just earlier, he's about to become Deputy Prime Minister. Are you looking forward to that as much as he is?
Look, I'm the Prime Minister. We know what we're doing.
That wasn't a yes.
All right. So there we go.
Weak.
Craig, lots of things to talk about. Invest New Zealand, foreign direct investment is an interesting one. What are all the projects that you've got lined up, Mr. Luxon? Well, you know, Judith got something to say about that. What was your response to the State of the Nation messaging today, Craig?
Well, I mean, the State of the Nation messaging started badly and got worse basically from there. And by starting badly, Mr. Luxon turned up and said, I'm going to talk about the economy and almost nothing else. And then he spent the next 10 minutes talking about anything other than the economy.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
So he's clearly feeling the need. He's clearly feeling the stress that, that he's had to do this event. They're 1 year into a new government and he's having to justify to the public why he's Prime Minister and why the economy is going so badly. He said that, we're going to go for growth. The last time, I'm British, I recognise that going for growth language. That was Liz Truss in 2022, who said exactly that. We're going to go for growth. Approximately 3 weeks before, she was turfed. If you want Christopher Luxon to be a hype man, there was a brilliant backhanded compliment at the beginning of the speech where he said, "It's thanks to Nicola's efforts that we are seeing the dividend of careful spending and responsible economic management, even if so many Kiwis are still doing it so tough." So, responsible fiscal management, strong economic management, but all the Kiwis that I can see are doing it tough. Something doesn't add up there.
Can't have everything.
No, and he said, and we're going to be investing in what matters. Now, there are two large boats that would sort of disagree about that, for a start.
And a hospital. Don't forget a hospital.
Several
hospitals.
I was going to say not just one hospital, several hospitals, several hundred schools around the country that are still waiting for their rebuild program to be delivered. There's child poverty targets that have been expanded rather than shrunk. And I'd argue if you're going to invest in anything, ending child poverty is a very important thing. $107 million taken out of free school meals. There are plenty of things that we could be investing in, but we're just not. He said that we're going to, a growing economy is important, as if this was new information to New Zealand. But that's not what we've got. We've got an economy that's currently in recession, in the steepest recession since 1991. And we have unemployment rising to 5.5%. We've got business investment falling across the board and falling probably for about another year, according to the Reserve Bank, where essentially, and the government is essentially praying that the Reserve Bank cuts interest rates and in the hope that that delivers growth again. But it was really interesting, that Invest New Zealand program. We wanted to see investments in mining, tourism. We wanted to see farmers deliver new growth. We already have in New Zealand the Ministry for Foreign Affairs and Trade that supports overseas investment. We have New Zealand Trade and Enterprise that supports New Zealand overseas investment. We have the Ministry of Business Innovation and Employment that encourages overseas investment. We have the regional development agencies of every area in the country that are encouraging overseas development and overseas investment. There's no shortage of actors and entities who are encouraging overseas investment. And we encourage overseas investment by having some of the most lax rules anywhere in the developed world about that overseas development. So investment. So it's not really, if a few more people working in an office in Wellington or somewhere overseas is the solution to your problem, you probably don't understand the problem. And so as a consequence, that's not going to be it. But if I may, there was one thing that I got quite offended about in his speech, where he said he was going to be they were going to essentially collapse all the Crown research agencies into one entity. Then that science was going to be the big driver of economic growth, gene technology, quantum AI. All of these things were going to be very important. They said those things like they knew what they meant. And to me, we've just fired 500 scientists in the public state who were doing exactly that job. He said that the problem was that we weren't incentivizing commercialization of research. We've been incentivizing commercialization of research in the public estate for the past 30 years. It makes no sense.
I found it really interesting that their solution to, again, monetizing science and research, research doesn't have any value unless we can monetize it somehow, of course, was to merge these three entities into a mega science clearance warehouse, whatever. Because merging things together is a good thing to do. It's efficient. It'll focus us, so that's good. That's good. Merging DHBs, very, very bad. Merging polytechnics, very, very bad. Merging council water entities, also very, very bad. So what's the difference? Is it only good when National merge something?
It's quite clear that the government doesn't understand what it wants from its science system here. It's quite clear it doesn't understand actually what difference it thinks it can make. Now, they quoted Denmark in this system as an example of one of the places they wanted to be like for science. Denmark has a huge and very active pharmaceuticals industry. Novo Nordisk is one of the biggest pharmaceutical firms in the world right now. They're the makers of Wegovy and other blockbuster drugs recently. Now, it may surprise you to know that most of those firms are run as not-for-profit charitable entities by Danish law.
I'm just imagining all the Americans watching right now going like this.
Yep.
Oh, actually, no. I hope they don't do that, because if their heads explode, they'd need healthcare. So we don't want that.
And the activities of that firm are supported heavily by the Danish government. The Danish government spends around 3% of GDP on research and development, which the entirety of the New Zealand economy manages about 1.5%. So, if it wanted to help, it could invest in science and research. It could invest in an active industrial policy to actually deliver us, the good long-term jobs that we want to see. It could be investing, in the infrastructure to do that, where we've seen that in Singapore, where we have industry transformation plans that actually did that in various sectors right across their economy. Unfortunately, at the election, we binned industry transformation plans because we had those in food, fibre, we had those in advanced manufacturing, we had those in building materials. They've all gone. We've binned much of the what they called basic science work in the country, which was actually delivering the research that we want to see and the innovation that we want to see. We've ended much of the regional economic development work, which will be necessary if you're going to deliver new mining jobs and new tourism jobs. We've just robbed the investor, so the tourism levy money, because that was supposed to be going to local authorities to help pay for local infrastructure, but is now going to the Crown because they're short of a bob or two. So there are plenty of things we could be doing. Unfortunately, saying them in a very nice hotel in Auckland, the Cordis, can highly recommend it, is not the same thing.
Sponsored by Kiwi Bank.
Is not the same thing as actually doing it in government, and that's the challenge we have, is that actually they're not doing it.
I watched the speech as well, and I picked lots of things out of it. One thing I was interested about is the talk of we must repeal and replace the RMA, and whether that's the right or wrong decision to make. I have a very large concern. Chewie vocalised very well last night and probably on Monday, probably every night we've been on, is that how do you trust these guys? Because the last time they repealed and replaced something was the IREX ferries, and they didn't have a replacement plan. So they repealed and then they went. So with the RMAs, What are we going to, Resource Management Act, are they going to just go, right, let's scrap them? What are we doing next? We'll start working it out, because it is hard to trust this government with their act. We are judging them by their actions. So any of that kind of let's get rid of altogether is frightening in the world of politics and legislation right now, because when they seem to have done it in this term so far, they've gotten rid of stuff and they haven't had anything to come in. You know, like, fair enough, you have a neoliberal outlook on the world, so therefore you think it should be done like this, right? But what they're doing is they're just getting rid of the way the other ones have done it, and they're not going, and we think it should be done like this. They haven't got that part of the equation, and I fear that's going to be the same for the RMAs. And
this is true of many areas of, you know, Chewie mentioned getting rid of the DHBs and merging all the digital health boards back together, you know, into the mega merger, the polytechnics, changing the entire adult education system. You know, that has to go. We now have to go back to the existing regime we had, 5-10 years ago. It's really easy to say you don't like something. It's really easy to say that something is wrong. It's much harder to then put forward an actual, well, this is what we should then do differently. And we're in that find out part of the equation. Because we've decided.
Sorry, could I interrupt? Is that the fuck around and find out part? Is that the equation we're talking about?
You could say that. I couldn't possibly comment.
Okay.
But in terms of the, we're in that part of the equation, where we say essentially we've decided we don't like a lot of things, and like a 3-year-old having a tantrum, we decide to get rid of them, but we don't actually have any idea what we want. And so we're about to probably very expensively find out what life is like when you don't have an RMA system. And then we spend the next 20 years with the consequences of the decisions we make when we got rid of that system. Much like we did when we got rid of building standards, and we then spent billions of dollars solving weather tight.
Chewie, anything to wrap up with?
Oh, I've got so much. I love that he's mentioning mining. Of course, all the good mining is under national parks and areas of just supreme biodiversity that we will not be able to replace if we dig big holes in them. And I was watching Shane Jones's Q&A appearance the other day, where Jack Tane illustrated how small his thinking is about the benefits of opening up the mining in conservation estates. Basically, he was talking big, like huge. If you talk about, we want to double our royalty income from mining. I think it was 0.04% of GDP. If Shane Jones got everything he wanted, if all the estimates were high, that's the sort of impact that it will have on our economy. 0.04%.
Now, mining does
rip up some national parks.
And mining does create some very well-paid jobs in some locations, but it's never going to be the mass employer that we need to turn around the figures you saw at the top of the show, where you've got 200,000 people unemployed. And how do you create jobs for them? Also, many of those people don't want to work in mining. It's hard, physical, difficult jobs. Why would they want that? That's not what they want to do. So
they want well-paying jobs.
Mm.
And it's just that mining happens to be a well-paying job. If you get them another one, they'll do that too.
You know, I'm the son of a coal miner, right? So they want well-paying jobs, but they want secure, well-paying jobs, right? And I can tell you, as a son of a coal miner, coal mining was paid very well. It wasn't very secure, and as a consequence, you know, this is the problem: is that you're just kicking the can down the road. You're buying a job or two instead of actually delivering the sustainable, long-term, you know, economy we actually want to see that's going to deliver those jobs.
The other thing I wanted to mention here is the tourism levy. As you quite rightly mentioned, they raided that kitty straight away. Nicola Willis was talking about opening up tourism again to boost growth, and immediately regional councils were going, if you're going to do that, we need help. We need help to deal with this influx of tourists, and you have raided the kitty, the fund that was supposed to help us do that. And then my final point is, when we're talking about opening up to investment, we are again ignoring the fucking elephant in the room. We have investment in this country that goes to housing. We pour all our money into a dead industry that produces nothing, and then we have to go cap in hand to overseas investors and say, you give us some money, we'll do all the hard work, and then you can extract all the profit as the only way of doing things. They still are ignoring the elephant in the room.
Well, essentially, I don't disagree with you. What we're highlighting here is that we've seen a speech and a very long conversation today, but what we haven't seen is a plan. We've seen some aspirations, we've seen some desires, but what we haven't seen is a plan. We've seen someone say, we must do something, but we haven't seen any roadmap as to how do we get there, any kind of sense of understanding of what would be necessary to deliver that. Instead, there's just simply sort of some kind of prayers to the economic gods to deliver growth in the hope that that will make us all better off, rather than a sense of actually how we do that.
When you spoke before, Craig, about it's easier to make these speeches in the Caucus Hotel, it's not actually happening in Parliament, though. I'm a little bit reticent at putting this example up because when we start talking about musicals, Chewie loses his mind because he loves them so much. But for some reason, in the last couple of days, just by chance, I've started listening to Hamilton again. I just been listening because I quite enjoy it. And there's a line in Hamilton. Sorry, Chewie, I know this is going to send you on how amazing these things are, and the fan you are of Lin-Manuel Miranda. I'm sorry, we can't go there tonight, Chewie. I apologise. But he has a really good line when they're doing a battle, where he says, George Washington says at Hamilton, "Winning is easy, governing is harder." And I'm like, that's sort of, that's a good life lesson from Hamilton that you'd get, Chewie. But you know what I mean? That's what I hear you saying. It's like winning's easy. It's easy to be in opposition and go, you suck, you suck, you suck. And then you get in, governing's harder. And I reckon there's an element of that we're seeing right now. Not just that they're bad at this, but it's what they're doing is a harder job. It's harder to be the sports. It's harder to be the football star than to be the couch potato criticizing the football star. You know what I mean? And that's a part of what they're going through right now.
Well, it's also a problem of expectations because they promised so much. They promised a laser-like cost of living focus that isn't working. They promised to solve the housing crisis. They promised to get the country back on track. They promised to end crime. They promised to so on and so forth. And, you don't need to be an investigative journalist. You just need to look out of the window to know that these things aren't working. And that, the plans that they have aren't delivering. If they were, they wouldn't need to be in the Caucus Hotel telling the country that they are working and they really do have a plan, because it would be self-evident.
Craig, as always, we look forward to your weekly spot on BHN. He says quietly. That's a joke, Fano.
I am working on the beard, Jen, so that's kind of...
That was a joke, Fano. We're going to start up a new podcast called The Anti-Donkey, just because it's stuck now. So I think that's what we're going to do. But thanks so much for coming on, Craig. We'll catch up with you super soon. Always enjoy your input. And all the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers, Craig.
Now, are you okay that we don't now go and talk about musicals for an hour? Because I know how much you love it, and it's often a tangent. Can we leave that? Is that okay?
Yeah, we can leave that. Look, something was mentioned when we were talking to Craig. He did mention the biggest economic decline since 1991. So sorry, chat. I have to do the jump scare whenever we talk about this. It's Ruth Richardson again. Ruth Richardson's come back.
Did you know that Ruth Richardson was the original? Put it back up. Was the original figure that they modelled the troll doll on. I mean, Marge Simpson hasn't got hair that high. What the actual fuck?
I think the thing is, Ruth Richardson, it's hard to see in a lot of pictures because they're always framed so you can't really get a good context of her actual size. She's 3'2". Those are normal people's small sunglasses. And she's wearing a child's wig.
It's actually, that hair is actually quite impressive. It's actually quite impressive. I mean, that hair alone put the hole in the ozone layer thanks to the hairspray and the CFCs, but it is still quite an impressive thing. Well done, Ruthie.
Another one of Ruth Richardson's many crimes is the ozone hole. You can't see it in this photo; it's slightly cropped out, but she's holding up her budget, which was just 500 pages of bold type font that said "kill the poor." Yeah. So,
it worked. They did it.
Yep.
They succeeded. Well done, team.
Fixed.
Hey, listen, Craig's amazing. And what happens is it always drives you guys to do heaps of chats. There is like 20 super chats right now. And I'm sorry we didn't get to it during Craig. So you know what we'll do? We'll go through some of them, then we'll do the next story, else we'll be here forever. Before we do this, though, just as a reminder, we are going to get to Discord tonight. If you're on Discord or you want to be a part of it, then all you need to do is head over. Look, Aiden's already there. Aiden's waiting. So on Discord, I mean, I don't know what it'll look like for you. Main page, there you go, welcome page. It'll look like that, or it'll look like that, or whatever. And in the bottom left hand corner there's this little area called waiting room, and you jump yourself in there, and towards the end of this hour we will do some Discording, assuming it works. I have not tested it for 2025, and sometimes when Microsoft does updates, everything goes haywire. But we'll give it a go. So let's do some of these chats. And if you've done a chat, thank you very much. We will get to it, but just not to load us up with 20 minutes of super chats now, because we've got a couple of other stories to go to. Vanda just gives us a super sticker. Thank you for you, Vanda. We appreciate that. NZ Random says, what's the difference between the economy and BG and BG is growing? Very good. Nicely starred one there, Chewie. Kiwi Bird says 9 minutes late, abortion is healthcare. That's a rough segue. That's just like there's the segue into the point. Got that. Late fee from an unspecified individual. Sorry, you guys. I love you. We love you too. More like the effing state of it, says Mr. Arvids. Peter says we're on the brink of a global trade war too. Yep. Howie, I saved this much today by not taking the car. I got fresh air. You guys get the other gain. Thank you, Howie. $16 super chat. That's very, very generous of you. It's in the ballot for $5. Thank you for your super chat. Oat trim latte does exist because we only have trim cow's milk. Alternative milks do not offer a trim option. Luxon's coffee order is impossible to make. I love you guys. That's so good. Mr. Arvids, is Luxon prepared to work hard through? Now the super chat there, super sticker there from Chad. Thank you, Chad. Appreciate that. Whatever it was, I'm sure it was amazing. Zeldia, where's the South Island minister? He's probably in Te Puke, i.e. Hawaii at the moment, perhaps. That's maybe where he is.
He's not near his computer because he hasn't replied to my 2 emails so far. Well,
who is better / worth, Judith or Luxon?
Oh,
yeah,
that is rough.
Yeah. Well, I haven't forgotten Luxon's name yet. So that means he must be worse. He's in the forefront of everyone's mind.
If I was a National Party leader, and one day, God willing, inshallah, I will be. But I would specify it that at any press conference, at any photo op, that Judith Collins is not directly behind me. Like she's not looking over the shoulder. It never looks good. It always she's always there with an eyebrow cocked, going, "You're next." I've taken leaders out before. I'll do it again.
Unspecified individual, thank you for your super chat. Tech is a great investment, but it comes with a BlackRock price tag. And in all honesty, if they botch this, then it will cost us big time. The Falcon Air New Zealand says, overseas investment means they put money in, we do the work, and then the investors take the results and the profits overseas as they are in it for profit, as is any business. It's the idea of a business to make a return, or else it's a charity.
So why
Brian says, when are the rents going down? Yeah, it's a good question, Brian. Sorry, Terry, you were saying?
So why are we not investing in our own industries? Why is it that our Timo Rocket Man that was opening that caucus retreat? Man. Why is the only reason that he's able to keep his business ahead above water and to keep launching and developing rockets is to take US defense money? So we're too busy pouring money into unproductive assets rather than developing and researching these things that we're quite capable of doing. There's quite a few inventions that started in New Zealand with bullshit money, no money, and became global things. So we can do it. Like a UBCO, the electric motorbike company, they went out of business because they tried to break into the US market to secure funding because there was none here and they overreached. So that company's gone now, fire sale.
Yeah. All right, we'll get back to some more of your super chats in a wee while. Let's go have a look. This is sort of a story we touched on last night, but 3 News did a much more interesting delve into the issue of this anti-choice government, which is full of quote-unquote pro-lifers. Can I just say that term is inaccurate, pro-life. What they really are talking about is pro-live birth. That's what they are.
Yeah,
they're pro-live birthers. Because once the child is born, especially under a Tory government, that child can get fucked as far as they're concerned. So they care about the in utero cells that are lumped together into a life, and then once it comes out, they're like too many beneficiaries, or they're not there for it. So they're pro-live birth, not pro-life. So anyway, more and more of them are getting higher and higher up the National Party, including now the person sort of ultimately responsible for women's health.
Shane Letty mercilessly dumped from health to make way for Simeon Brown, a man who very vocally opposes abortion.
Mr. Speaker, all lives matter. Old or young, male or female, black or white, born or unborn.
He voted against abortion reform in New Zealand and was one of few national MPs who celebrated the overturning of America's abortion rights.
Now, of course, this is the famous tweet from Simon O'Connor. And if you're listening to the audio podcast, he put out a tweet that said today is a good day. That might have been a Facebook, or a tweet. And Simeon Brown is one of the people amongst 439 others who liked that. Chanel Lal put out a tweet as well saying National MP Simeon Brown agrees with National MP Simon O'Connor that it is a good day after the Supreme Court overruled people's rights to an abortion. So if you're listening to the audio, that is what Chewie is moaning in agony about, that imagery right there.
This cabal of religious fundamentalists in National has been a growing problem, and now they're pretty much all on the front bench.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said at the start of the show, Mr. Luxon, and we know the quote, says abortion is tantamount to murder. If you had the opportunity to stop someone being murdered, would you do it? In fact, if you didn't do it, you're actually an accessory to that crime. So if you had the opportunity to stop a murder, and you didn't do it, then you are culpable in that crime.
Here's another wee hint. So the week before Luxon started politics, the pastor of his church deleted all of his online sermons.
That man's name is Craig Holman, and I know him from a former life.
Probably just a coincidence, eh, Pat?
Probably just a coincidence. Let's keep going.
I think my views are on the public record. Those are my personal views. But as Minister of Health and as a government, we've made it very clear we're not changing those laws.
Abortion rights group LRANS wrote to the Prime Minister today expressing concern, saying it seems like a provocation to appoint Mr Brown to this role, given he has been an anti-abortion advocate for his entire adult life.
You put on paper your voting record that shows that it's antithetical to the goals of providing health care. It just makes it hard for us to take him at his word.
Can you give a cast iron guarantee that our abortion laws will not change under your watch?
We're not changing any of the abortion laws.
Christopher Luxon faced similar concern when he was first elected as leader.
Can you just answer the question whether you think abortion is tantamount to murder or not? That's a yes or no question. That should be pretty easy.
I'm a pro-life person. You know,
so yes.
That's what a pro-life position is.
It eventually led to him promising to resign before ever changing abortion law.
So given the appointment of Simeon Brown as Health Minister, can you give women a cast iron assurance that abortion laws won't change under his watch?
Yes, as I've said before, there'll be no change to those laws.
The law isn't the only way access to abortion could...
And look, this is, I'll go back so we get the whole, this is the thing, right? The supporters of the national messaging and stuff are saying things like, he said it. Story over. He said they will not change it. Yeah, you know, he also said that Dunedin Hospital would get built bigger and better than what Labor was promising, restored back to its original plan. They went back on that promise. In politics, I'm sorry.
Immediately.
I'm sorry. He said it, doesn't cover all. Now, will they change it? I mean, if I'm being really honest with you, I think it's incredibly unlikely. But the problem is the distrust that there is there for what they say versus what they do, or what they don't say, hello Smoke Free 2025, and what they do, causes many people to have concerns about it. And I think the concerns are fair enough, Chewie.
They've asked the question now of both of them. Will they be changing the law? They have an answer. They have a very clear answer that they are not going to change the law. Change the question.
Yes.
Will there be a reduction in funding for this area of healthcare?
Yeah.
Will there be a reduction of access to this form of women's healthcare?
Yep.
Will there be anything done to restrict access to safe legal abortions while you guys are at the helm? And Simeon Brown's thing of like, well, yes, it's a personal view. Awesome. Have all the personal views you want, my dude. If you don't like abortion, don't get one.
Yeah.
If you and your wife have a discussion about whether abortion's right for you or not, fantastic. You can even include your GP. That's where it stops. You have your personal view to stop other people doing it and making their choice. You can get fucked. You can't say it's a personal view when you had a student club basically going around saying that anybody that would get an abortion was a murderer. That's not a personal view. That's enforcing your views on other people. So I see right through you, Simeon.
Now, I was going to say, to be fair, I think that question from memory kind of gets asked here, and I think he does actually say there'll be no changes to access. I think. So let's have a listen to see if that's what they go.
All right.
As I've said before, there'll be no change to those laws.
The law isn't the only way access to abortion could be impacted.
There's ways to put policies in place that make things either more tedious for patients to get to care, affecting funding to that care, affecting even the ability of pharmacies to have available medications.
Can you understand why women are nervous?
Oh, look, I've been very clear. We're not changing that legislation. That's what the Prime Minister said. That's what I'm saying.
Not the question.
If he looks to remove any access to abortion services in New Zealand, you will step in.
Correct. We have said very clearly that there will be no change to what the current settings are around abortion.
National does not need another contentious issue to crop up and distract from an economic focus, as its polling is in the doldrums.
If you can't get...
Now that was clearer, yeah? Being fair? That was clearer.
Yes.
But then you still come back to the idea of trust. Saying something and doing the opposite, or not saying something and doing harmful and dangerous things. So there's one more part of this question, I think, which talks about leadership.
From an economic focus, as its polling is in the doldrums.
If you can't get your polling out of the low 30s, will you be the right person to lead National to the next election?
I'll just say to you, the only polls that are matter, and I've said that right from when I've taken this job, is the next election.
You'll still be the leader if you can't get the polls out of the low 30s?
I'm focused on delivering for New Zealanders.
The biggest winner of Christopher Luxon's reshuffle, first-termer, now Minister for the South Island, James Meagher, who's been pegged as a future leader, giving his boss one heck of a political runway.
And he's going to be a fantastic Prime Minister for the next 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 years, however long it takes to get New Zealand back on track.
So you wouldn't make a run for the leadership in the next 15 years?
Absolutely not. The only thing I'm going to run...
In the next 15 years?
Absolutely not.
There is the small matter of elections to win, of course.
Well, Jenna's one.
There you go. So, yeah, Chewie, he did get out that access question, but then it's still the idea of, do you trust them? Now, like I said, I honestly, and you guys might think that I'm being naive. Sure, I'll own that. I just think that any group, any government that tried to change this access and tried to do anything around it would just be so far gone to the next election. I think it's really unlikely to happen. But it's not fair that because of their mismanagement and lies, hypocrisy, whatever, that this question even comes up. You know what I'm saying? So it's not even fair that women are now concerned about this. Some women are now concerned about this. And the only reason they are is because of how they have handled themselves, how they have lied, the hypocrisy they have shown, what they have done without getting a mandate. So yeah, I get it. I don't think it'll happen, but the animosity and the fear that it could be causing some women. It's not fair, and it's not fair, the fair F-A-R, and it's not fair F-A-I-R, and it's not fair because of the way that people like Luxon have handled themselves with policy through this term.
The reason people are reacting so poorly to this is they looked at the US. The Republicans have spent like nearly 40 years biding their time,
73,
50 years trying to turn Roe versus Wade, and they just will change this and that. We'll just move it a little bit, and then boom, it's gone. Like, that's what happens when people go, oh, they'll never do it. They'll never actually do it. They'll just move the flags around. But since we're talking about them, here's your Minister for Ethnic Communities and your Minister for Health. He's giving you the thumbs up to just breed.
I thought that was his oldest child. Is it not his son? Mark Mitchell.
Just after this, Simeon asked Mark if he could go and get a Happy Meal, and Mark said, yes, because you've been a very good boy and filled in some potholes.
Yeah, but brother Mike points out that dad looks a bit pissy actually with his son. It's, it's not really onto things. All right. You're being very generous with the super chats tonight. Let's get to a couple more of them. Citizen Gold says, an educated population tends to vote left, long-term plan, free education all the way up to polytech and uni, and subsidised apprenticeships. Very good. I like those. I'm down. Falconeer says, you can glue a broken vase back together. Say vase or vase? That's been a debate in this house. Yeah? I say vase because I'm down with the kids. And they talk about vases all the time. Back together, it'll never be the same again or worth as much. That for mining, you can't return it to its original state. Yep, very true.
Just can't.
Peter says FMK, Luxon, Collins, Brown. Do you want to explain to some of our more innocent people what FMK is?
Fuck, marry, kill.
It's a very good question, Peter. We may have just... maybe we can talk about it on Discord if people want to have a crack at it.
That's the worst one that I've ever seen. That's the worst one. And my friends have terrible, terrible taste and are monstrous, monstrous people with no boundaries. That's the worst one I've ever seen. You've ruined that game for me.
Are we going to be forced to answer this? Are we going to have to answer this by the end of the show?
It's impossible.
But what if I say
it's
that we have to?
impossible if it starts with my suicide? You have to choose one. No.
But what if we had to? What if we made a little game and we said we're not going to turn off the stream until we answer that?
On the eve of your wedding, Pat, this is inappropriate.
Oh, geez, that is a good comeback. That's what she said. Okay. Okay.
Dreadful people.
Okay. I'm not going to get rid of that one. I'm going to leave it in the start because, maybe we can twist some arms later on. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to jump in Discord and try and force you to answer it, Chewie. What are you getting? What are you getting? Hey, what are you getting?
I'm getting some Chewies. And, some chocolates. Claire, my beloved. Fuck, marry, kill. Simeon Brown, Judith Collins, Luxon. My answer is suicide.
Oh, fuck all of them.
Oh, there you go. My wife will take them all on.
Good
gosh. Well.
See, I'm the sensible, calm.
Yeah, you're the calm one,
right?
What
you weren't
the hell?
expecting that, were you, chat? Weren't expecting that.
All right. Hey, I'd like to maybe get some Discord shortly. Aiden's in there and Sam's in there as well. We can have a look at that. Do you want to? We were talking about a couple of things about Luxon. I've got something to show you actually. Not Luxon, sorry, Trump. Slip of the tongue. I got one thing I want to show you about Trump. It's a very, very, very short clip from Midas Touch. One of these violent January 6s. Guess what happened after Trump pardoned them? They were jailed immediately. Have a look at this.
So this right here is Daniel Ball. He's one of the January 6th insurrectionists, one of the violent ones who Donald Trump freed as part of his executive order. The thing is, the second that he was freed by Donald Trump and pardoned by Donald Trump, he went right back to jail. Let me explain. So within 24 hours after being released from prison by Donald Trump, he was sent back to jail for violating the law for illegal possession of a firearm by a felon. All in addition to...
Have a listen to this though, right? Because we think about these guys, like on January 6th, they kind of got a bit ahead of themselves. And this guy has a record, right? And this is who Trump released and who has already gone back to jail.
Felon. All in addition to what he did on January 6th, had 3 prior felony convictions.
3 other felonies.
Domestic violence, battery by strangulation, resisting law, firearm by a...
That was a nice one. Did you hear that? Strangulation, domestic violence. This is the person, one of the people that Trump pardoned.
Felon. All in addition to what he did on January 6th, had 3 prior felony convictions. Domestic violence, battery by strangulation, resisting law enforcement with violence, and battery against a law enforcement officer. Back the blue, huh? That's the thing about Trump's pardons. These weren't just people who happened to be moseying about around the Capitol on January 6th. Many of these people are violent criminals who have not only on January 6th, but at other times of their life, violently assaulted police officers. An insider reported that when Donald Trump was thinking about who he should pardon, he ultimately said the following: "Eff it, release them all." I'm sure this is just going to be the first case of one of the violent insurrectionists who Donald Trump released heading back to prison. To stay up to date on all the news, make sure you're following us right now.
Fair enough. Midas touch, they're legendary. Lucy Lawless gave Midas touch the shout out over the Christmas period, gave us one as well. So Midas touch BHN, Midas touch BHN, right there. Yeah, there you go, Chewie. There's a small one for you from the Trumpster. One of his, good people, very good people.
You are fake news. Okay, you're fake news.
The thing with the January 6th guys is, like, I know there's a lot of criticism of US law enforcement. And there's a lot of problems there, but there's also a lot of people that see the January 6th guys for exactly what they are: people trying to do a coup or an insurrection. They take it very, very personally, and I think this is the way around it. Oh, Trump pardoned you for this thing? Cool. We're still watching you, and we still know that you're a multi-denominational shitbag. We'll find any reason to put you back in there. So hopefully that's a blueprint going forward. We'll see. I wouldn't place any bets, but we'll see. Hey, one thing I wanted to talk to you about Trump. Remember, he signed this executive order straight in saying that there's only 2 genders.
Yeah.
Have you seen that he might have fucked that up?
Oh, really? That surprises me so much, Chewie. Hang on.
It's shocking, isn't it?
I am so surprised.
I'm just trying to find the wording on a website that doesn't have an ad block. But apparently they kind of went into some real pseudoscience descriptions of...
color me surprised.
From conception, male or female.
Oh.
Yeah. Chat, if you know your biology, from conception, what gender are we?
What, when you're 2 or 4 cells?
All embryos start female.
Yeah.
So they fucked that up. So every male in the US is trans. Sorry, don't make the rules.
I heard someone talking the other day about X, and they say you're not allowed to call it X because they're so pro dead naming people. Got to use their original names. You must call it Twitter. It has to be Twitter. It can't be anything else because Twitter is not allowed to transition to X. I'm sorry. So now by law, thanks to Donald Trump, we must call it legally Twitter. So we always knew it was always going to be Twitter. There you go. Have you got anything else? You were looking at some stuff, or we can go and have a chat with Aidan and Sam and see if anyone else wants to jump in.
Yeah, look, there is something we kind of touched on this. I can talk about 2 things. I can talk about Golras, or I can talk about Labour. Flip a coin.
No, you choose.
Just nah. That's not how you flip a coin. No. All right.
Okay. Look, now hang on. I'll flip a coin if you answer this question.
Okay. Oh, fuck off. I've given you my answer. It's a murder-suicide.
All right.
So there's Golris. We always got to start with a picture. So from the Herald from this afternoon, police decide not to charge ex-MP Golris over Pack and Save shoplifting. Notice the quotation marks. Incident. Now this article.
Hang on. Why would they use like speech marky things around it? Why would they do that? Because normally you do that when it's a bit not really being used accurately. That would be normally you normally use it if it wasn't quite
bullshit.
Yeah, because that's what you'd do. Like if you were like, you know, the giant of a man because he's 6'8". He's not really a giant, but he's a giant. So why would they put shoplifting in those same marks? I wonder, Chewie.
So I was drawn to this article because this is the first time that Golris has actually come through and made a statement about it. But I will read through. No charges will be laid against the former Green MP after a shopping incident at an Auckland supermarket, a move that has prompted her first words on the claim. About the decision not to lay charges, Garriman told the Herald, "I'm relieved police have finally come to the right decision and I'm happy to be moving on." The police announcement comes less than a week after the shopping incident was made public by Leo Malloy and reported as a fresh shoplifting allegation against Garriman. Last year, she pleaded guilty to 4 charges related to shoplifting from high-end fashion stores, bringing an end to her career as an MP. A statement from police today described the incident as shoplifting and did not refer to it as an allegation. So the police statement said that she was shoplifting.
So just so I'm clear, shoplifting, so there's no like attempted shoplifting. It's not like a crime was attempted and foiled.
Statement.
They say, so that means, right, so we're clear before we go on, because I saw the headlines of this over the holiday. I didn't pay a lot of attention to it, to be fair, so I'm learning a bit now as well. But to me, shoplifting means you take an item, you obviously stash it somewhere, you hide it or whatever, and then you leave the premises. Now, if you attempted to do that and they stopped you in the premises, it would be attempted to shoplift. But if you shoplifted, you are in the car park. That's how I would read that claim, Chewie. So please, sir, continue.
But like if she took a step past the checkout and didn't pay for it, that would be shoplifting.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. It did reveal that the single item considered taken was worth $40.
Considered taken, so not actually taken, because that's what that means.
Hadn't left the supermarket, hadn't gone past the checkout, was walking around with a trolley with a tote bag in it.
What the, can I just question, what the fuck is worth $40 at the supermarket? Was it Christmas? Was it a turkey or something?
Makeup.
A supermarket?
Something.
Okay.
I don't know.
Bottle
The
of wine?
statement said that the shoplifting occurred at Pack and Save Royal Oak, October 12th, 2024, and it was reported to police for investigation electronically using the Aura platform. Now, Aura is a facial recognition piece of software that a bunch of businesses use that cross-reference known shoplifters' facial features and can alert police or the people signed up to that program that they have a shoplifter on site. It said the police had carried out inquiries and a decision had been made not to file charges. Any police investigation considers the Solicitor General's guidelines for prosecution, including factors such as evidential sufficiency and public interest. In this case, the police have considered the public interest test was not met, as well as taking other factors into account. The statement clearly referred to the incident involving Garriman and went on to say, given the subject of the complaint has not been charged with an offence, they are entitled to privacy and we are limited in further comment. The Herald revealed that Garriman had less than $150 worth of goods in a shopping trolley or in a tote bag sitting in the trolley and had yet to enter the checkout area when she was stopped by store security. Now, I'm sorry, that's the fullest account that I have found to date, and it sounds like the biggest fucking beat up I have ever seen.
So we're clear. So I want to be clear. A tote bag, i.e. something like one of those woven shopping bags, some kind of bag, was in the trolley, not like over her shoulder and she slipped something down the back sort of thing, was in the trolley and she hadn't got to the counter. Now, I know for me, when I go to my local supermarket, and if I haven't got a bag, I wear a hoodie with a pocket across one. I'll sometimes slip my bottle of drink into that as I'm going to the counter, then pull it out and scan, and then walk out carrying things in my hands. I did it today, I think, actually. So I also do a thing sometimes, and when I go to Pack and Save, because they make us pack, so we save. As I put my shopping bags in the trolley, and I put the stuff straight into the shopping bags, and then when I get to the counter, it's kind of already ordered. That sounds like what she was doing, putting things into a tote bag that was about to be then put up on the conveyor belt or something like that. Am I reading that correctly?
Tell you what, Pat, have you ever walked around doing your shopping and you got your trolley there, and you got a bag of chips, and you open the bag of chips and eat your chips while you're shopping?
Yep.
That's the sort of confidence we've got being white men. No one's coming for us. No one's coming for us. I've seen people open drinks. As long as they pay for it, where's the problem? It's not a problem for anybody else. The rest of the story gets even meatier. The incident was uploaded to the Aura retail crime reporting platform, but the supermarket did not check the box that automatically reports matters to the police. So who reported it to the police?
Yeah, interesting.
Now, here's the thing. Aura is open to the police, and police can browse it. So when Garriman put in her appeal to her conviction, I believe that the police went through the system looking for her flag. Because they tried to introduce this event, this incident, this non-shoplifting incident, into their counteract to her appeal. It has raised questions. Where's it gone? We've lost it. It has raised questions about how police discovered the incidents after Foodstuffs told the Herald that for low-level offending like you've described, we don't engage directly with the police.
But they still put on a system the police get access to.
Yeah. Deputy Commissioner said the police received a report of shoplifting via the Aura platform, through which retailers can report incidents to police, but the retailers has already said that we didn't do that. So this sounds like an absolute beat up.
Yeah.
And I think when the attempt to bring that in as part of pushing back against her appeal didn't work, someone sympathetic to Leo Malloy leaked that information to Leo Malloy, who put it in the public sphere. So yeah, I think that's as far as this story is going to go. But this story on the Herald, I think, lays it way open that nobody here is being above board. I think the police have big questions about who handled this information, who went looking for it, who leaked it to Leo Malloy. I think this is just the biggest bunch of bullshit just to punish someone who has already lost their career in a mental health crisis because she has a terminal disease as well, and because our parliament eats up people.
Right. That's a horrible story. And it was horrible. Like I said, it happened over the holiday period, and I didn't pay a lot of attention to it, but I did see the fallout from it, about the people on various social media sites then ripping into it. So yeah, awful. Hey, I'll tell you what, people, we're going to go have a chat with some people on Discord now, assuming it's working, down here in the waiting room. That's where you want to jump into if you want to have a chat. We won't do it for a long time, but if you want to have a chat, first one for the year, assuming it's going to work, we're assuming it's going to work. We'll be there in a couple of minutes. Before we do that, we'll just get to the super chats. Chewie, there's one here for you. FMK, Luxon, Collins, Brown. NZ Random, your religion is supposed to be a self-imposed restriction on yourself, not imposing restrictions on others. Howie says, how do we organise to resist the greedy, the bullies, the selfish? Unspecified again says, who hasn't accidentally selected an overpriced item and scanned it as an onion? You know what I noticed the other day? I've I'm a good boy there, because when these self-checkout things first started, people were like getting tons of like cashew nuts and scanning them as peanuts and that kind of stuff, or getting apples but saying they were the price of the apples on special. They check now. No, I've never done that, but I notice that the actual machine in the new worlds that I go to goes doo, 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 and they have to actually come over and look in the bag and then scan through, which I kind of guess fair enough. But it's like, if you're going to make us do your work,
fair enough though?
Yeah, if you're going to make us do your work, that's the risk you got to take.
You put in self-checkouts because you wanted to save money on staffing.
Yeah.
Okay, so you go, we are going to get some shrinkage through this. We are going to get some loss, but shrinkage is a retail term for
I'm sure it
loss
is
of product.
For a very cold morning.
Do you know what happens if you've got too much product, more product than you think you had? It's called swellage. So there you go.
Expansage.
So, like, you do the numbers. The self-checkout and the lack of paying someone to fucking scan your groceries properly is either worth the loss you'll get through it, or it's not.
Yeah.
But don't fucking have 3 people standing in the self-checkout area coming over to respond to the boop, boop, boop because I legitimately wanted a brown onion and you're aware that it's an internet meme.
There's one other thing. Now that we're just complaining about supermarkets, since I'm glad they've moved away from plastic bags, right? First thing. But since they've moved away from it, do you not go, what the fuck are you doing? When a checkout operator will open your bag of apples, reach in to have a look what kind they are, and then close it. I'm just like, how many of these things have you touched there? I don't want your hands on my fruits. I told you they were ambrosia apples. Reaches in, touches, has a look, puts it back. Oh, I hate that. Anyway.
Okay, so now this is just turning into a boomer rant about self-checkouts, but Secret Squirrel
boomer.
here, no, this fucks me off so much. Countdown takes photos and does an image search. I make a point of getting my head in the photos as much as possible and pressing buttons with my middle finger just because it's funny. That's the sort of pettiness that I encourage. But like last time I went to Countdown here in Dunedin, right, went through the self-checkout. You've got the little scale fucking thing where you put your groceries, and I was buying 4 items. I stacked them, and because it couldn't see all of those 4 items because I'd stacked them on top of each other, it summoned a minion because it couldn't see all the items. And I was just like, man, look, I know you didn't make this decision, minion that's been summoned over to see that I've got four items, but I'm not coming back here. Like, she showed me the image of the little video of me scanning my items, and I'm just like, are you kidding me? This is all tracked. It's all facially recognition. They said that they're scanning fucking license plates and rewards cards as the next step. No way. I'm not doing it.
Do you know
one of the supermarkets bring it in? I'm going back to butchers and fruiterers.
Do you know one of the easy ways to get around the facial recognition in lots of places? Is wear a hat. I have no idea how many places are set like 30 degrees above. You wear a hat. It's quite hard to do facial recognition. I want to keep going though, because there are people waiting to talk to us now, if it works. Tom from Australia, thank you for the super chat. That's worth about 400 New Zealand dollars. Gender and sex are not the same thing. There are 4 genders to start with: boy, man, girl, woman. They don't know what they are talking about. What the fuck? G'day, all the way from Perth. I've got a niece who lives in Perth. There you go.
Fucking Perth.
Right.
That's
Fucking
miles
Perth.
away.
Jeez, mate.
That's
What you doing?
further away than places that are further away than Perth.
Fair crack of the whip. Right, let's give this a go. I don't know if this is going to work, team, but we'll try it with Aiden. Aiden, we're going to come to you in a second, so get ready. Turn your everyone who's in the waiting room, turn off the Who Daddy, turn off the YouTubes, and listen to us through the Discord so we can have a quick chat. Let's go and have a chat with Aiden. Aiden, are you there?
How's it going?
Yeah, good, man. How you doing? Happy New Year.
Yeah, same to you. Before I forget, congratulations on the wedding and whatnot.
Yes, she's a very lucky lady. This is true.
Hey, I'm kind of glad that Chewie didn't end up talking about the Labour thing, because I made a few notes on that. I said here, just so I remember, my optimism of Labour is dropping. It was down when they first got out, and then through watching you guys, I started to agree that, yeah, they're just trying to get their stride, and, you know, and then Chippy's been on a few times, he's like, okay, we shouldn't talk radically. We're trying to, you know, pull in the more centrist people. But now I'm starting to go like, well, mate, you've been out for a year. It seems like you've been doing jack all, you know, National kind of came in, started stripping things from the get-go. Where's Labour's fire, you know?
Yeah. Hey, Aidan, I'm going to throw to Chewie now, because Chewie, you were going to talk about one of the two things, and why don't you tell us your thoughts around Labour? You're talking about an article from RNZ. Might as well join it in this conversation.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
If you haven't still got the article, you can just give it the idea. Oh, you do? Right.
Yeah. So Labour pivots to focus on national stomping grounds of economy and crime. So I have two things about that. Fighting national on crime is not going to win. It's not a winner. Okay, you're trying to rehab your opinion on being tough on crime. That is not going to work. And the use of the word economy, businesses care about economy, workers care about pay, conditions, and job security. Those two things do not go hand in hand. So I think straight away, straight out of the gates, they are talking about the wrong issues.
Yeah.
I think they're right to focus away from things that they consider distractions, the culture war, all of that sort of thing. Cool. Do that. But when you're talking about economy and crime, you are not going to get people to vote for Red National.
And it's a mistake they made at the election. All of a sudden, when they felt like they were doing not so bad, all of a sudden they started talking about being hard on crime. So, Aidan, I'm assuming you're still with us, Aidan. This is what I hear when you're talking about what they have or haven't learned. Is that fair?
Sorry, you cut out a bit. Yeah. But I think you have kind of touched on my thoughts here. Yeah. I didn't end up reading the article, and I seen a few comments. Maybe the title didn't reflect the article. I did manage to watch a story on it. It still does seem like they're targeting those issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's the right ones to focus on at this time.
And it's fascinating that, we've had Chippy on a couple of times, and both times we've been talking about things like, capital gains tax, and those are the places we should be going. And Chewie, as you're saying, the first kind of look at it we get this year, they're going back to the things that didn't work at the last election, which is fascinating. All right, Aidan, thanks for your call. That's still my radio stuff. I can't help myself. I apologise about that. Now, look, there is another guest who's going to join us right now. You may know her from a particular show on Friday night called Bright Harry News. It is Emily. Hey, Ems. Hey, Ems, how you doing, man? You with us, Emily?
Mike's not on.
No, we can't hear you.
The disappointed face. Oh no, no microphone. Look, we should tease her. Look at no mic there in the corner.
Nikki, no mics. Oh wait, she's
had an idea. Is the idea to turn your mic on?
This is like the worst mime artist in the history of the world.
No.
Like, hey, can you do Walking Against the Wind? Can you do Walking Against the Wind, or I'm Stuck in a Giant Box? We thought we'd get Emily to join us just for the end of the show tonight, because I have to hand the keys to Emily the ones that you use to control Chewie for when I'm away and you guys are doing some stuff. So we'll do that after the show.
Just
But
a
because you're
shock
here,
collar.
Emily, let's do a couple of chats. Sam's been there for a while, and we'll have a chat with Sam as well. And then, we'll throw it over to you guys. Sam, you with us?
Oh, certainly. A good thing of the mute and the try to get all the right keys in the right places.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Emily and Chewie and me are with you, sir. What would you like to talk about?
I have an election day date prediction.
Okay.
Saturday, the 28th of November, 2026.
Why? Why is that important tonight? Why
Because it's the last possible day Luxon can call the election, and I think he's going to drag it out as long as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, so that's my little prediction for when the next election is, considering his government got sworn in around that point of November, considering he took forever to form.
That's an interesting prediction. Can I ask you to predict something else?
Go ahead.
Okay. FMK, Luxon, Collins, Brown. Can you predict an answer for that?
Collins is trying to make sure that Luxon and Brown do not go off topic.
And that sounds kind of cryptic to me.
Considering, I would say Judith Collins is probably a bit more savvy and a bit more smarter than Brown and Luxon put together.
Fair enough. All right, dude. Thanks for calling in tonight.
No problem.
Appreciate your vibes. Is that the right thing to say? I don't know. How about we get Schrodinger's act? I can't see the end of your name, Schrodinger. And maybe you guys can not have me dominate the whole thing. Schrodinger's act voter. Are you there, sir or madam?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. What's up?
Hey, just, I wanted to say hello, really, and just I guess say thanks because I'm a recent addition to the Discord community. Been watching for a while, and there's not really a lot of spaces for New Zealand lefties to dialogue like you have here. So yeah, it's really cool, and there's not really a lot of other options. And the other thing I just wanted to say is that I think the left needs way more anger and way more assertiveness, and if we're going to try and put a dent in the current situation. So Chewy's comments in December around direct action, I think, are key.
It's interesting because we could take this one of two ways. Either, we're terrible at this, but we can't go visit anybody else. That could be a way we take it. But no, I think you're right, and I think it's obvious that we think that as well. Emily, you're pretty new to this sort of thing with us. Do you want to answer anything that Schrodinger's just said? He's kind of said we need more of these, and there's not enough of them.
Yeah, I mean that seems to be the sentiment across the world, though. I think the American politics and pundits were saying the same, that there's not enough of us online, and that the right have dominated social media and online spaces for too long, and that's what's pulled a lot of the youngsters, especially young men, over to their side because they're actually speaking to them and they know how to speak to them. So I think we just need to do a better job of having more of us and I think the biggest thing is just getting people interested in politics. I think that's the thing that I learned in recent times actually hanging out with my family is that they don't care. Like they're in a position where it doesn't actually really affect them and they just sort of go to the polls and do the same old thing, or they really only pay attention towards the polling time. So I think we're just going to normalize talking about politics and complaining about the government.
Maybe I should have added a qualifier to say quality places to dialogue, because you can go to Reddit and 90% of it is awful and maybe 10% of it might be worthwhile, but the Discord's pretty engaged. And there's not a lot of crap.
NZ Poll is actually not too bad. Myself and Mountain Tui hang out in there. Yeah. Yep.
I just was sparked when I heard Emily talking, saying more of us. I just felt like going, more of us, more of us, more of us, more of us. But anyway, hey, Schrodinger, thanks for jumping in. Thanks for having a chat with us tonight, man. We appreciate it. And enjoy Discord. I'm sure it's lots of fun over there. I don't really know.
Thanks, team.
I'm sure you're having a good time. All right.
Cheers,
and I think
buddy.
we've got time for one more. And I think he actually co-hosted with you on Friday, didn't he? Old Detective Rogers. Is that right, Chewie?
Kia ora, guys.
Yes, Magenta brought him along.
Yeah, kia ora,
Hi, Rogers.
Detective. What's up?
You remember me?
We remember your absolutely jaw-dropping PowerPoint presentation on Atlas, which needs to be entered into a fucking museum. That was amazing.
I'm glad it left an impression. Thank you very much. And I am working on making those resources available. They are coming. I've just had a lazy week after my full-on week the prior week. But I've also been catching up with your show, trying to play catch up with that. And I just want to touch on some of the Elon Musk stuff that have been going on, and just sort of some of the relation drawn, especially between a lot of the Roman parallels and fascist parallels. And if only Magenta was here, because I think I'm going to start doing some cult talk. But I think there might be a bit of a link there, especially with the denialism that it's sort of coming with at this point. The whole, essentially, you get constantly accused of being Nazis or fascists, and you're constantly having to deny it. Maybe it's a sign, because that's something I think when, especially when people are joining the cult, it's a very common thing that they have to sort of, and you see this in the Nixium cult documentaries with Keith Raniere is like openly having to like say, so you might have heard people saying we're a cult, we're not a cult. You know, there's definitely some similar sort of behavior there, I think, reactionary wise. Yeah. I can keep going.
I think we are a cult. I really much enjoyed over the summer break the number of big hairy news gang patches I see getting sent to us, and I thought we should try and do something with that. Maybe do a boxing club one and see what happens. So, yeah, unfortunately, I think we do have a cult here, and as we all know, Chewie is our leader. Hey, Emily.
Yep. No. Second that.
I did have to swear a blood oath to get into the Discord, but you know.
All right, Rogers.
You guys had me banned for a while.
Well,
anyway,
did we? We'll let you go.
Yeah, for a bit.
And we'll talk to you. We'll talk to you sometime else. So thanks for jumping
no
on
worries.
tonight.
Yeah, kick me before I keep going.
All right. Yeah, that's a good idea. You're gone. Okay, guys. That's pretty much it. So, Emily, just for people to know, oh, there we go. Kiwi skirt. Very generous. Congrats on the big day, Pat. Have a great time and a safe trip. Looking forward to seeing some pics when you return. Some of those special pics, actually. Anyway, I will. One other thing before I go, I find this. If you guys could do this, this would just make my time off feel more comfortable. I'd be able, because my brain has problems switching off sometimes. And if you could just answer this question for me, Chewie, then I wouldn't think about it for 2 weeks. I'm not interested in thinking about it for me. I'm interested in thinking about it for what Chewie would think. That's all I really care about. Sure, we could do a cliffhanger. Join us February the 10th when Chewie answers the eternal question.
Look, no, I can't say that.
Oh, come on, it's right there. I can feel it. I can almost see it at the tip of your lips. Okay, let's do it together. Who would you kill?
It involves fucking someone to death, Pat.
I'm a bit uncomfortable now. Hey, Emily. So I'm off for 2 weeks. Emily is trying to corral Chewie for a good period of that. And I'm sure Magenta's going to be in and around and helping out as well. I want to say thank you to you two as well. Thank you, Emily, for this whole thing. Like we started this afresh when I got COVID, had that week off, and then we realized, we can't just disappear from the community, Chewie. It's a bit different than it used to be in the early days. And so Emily and Magenta came on, and as a perfect example, and I said this the other day, in an ideal, not an ideal world, in a smart programming world, I probably wouldn't have taken off 2 weeks around Waitangi Day, sort of the biggest news weeks in New Zealand, but it's how it's fallen. And it is the one time, as I said the other day, that I'm definitely putting myself and my partner first. And she has put up with a lot of me putting content and work and the show first. So she thanks you for letting me go as well. And thank you to you, Emily and Chew, for being here and continue this thing on. Tomorrow night, Emily, anything in particular going on you want to tell the whānau about?
Magenta's got something very exciting planned, as far as I'm aware. I'm kind of just in for the ride at the moment, because I'll be taking over next week. So I'm letting her have the reins, and I'll just enjoy it, I guess. But yeah, back to normal next week, and then Fridays with me and Magenta. So yeah, should be good.
All right,
I'm
guys. Anything you want to wrap up with, Chewie? Anything in particular?
Yeah, I do. I kind of mentioned this when we were talking about facial recognition in supermarkets, but it jogged my memory about a conversation I had with a customer today who came in with a rather impressive tamoko. And we're just talking about various things, and he mentioned he had a podcast. And A, it has a great name, and B, it's a great idea. So this guy is Katahu. He hails from around Akaroa, and he's done a few episodes of a podcast with a mate of his of Dutch descent.
Oh, yeah.
And it's called Token and Outspoken.
Mm.
And it is just a good, solid idea that I think quite a few people here might dig. They've only done 3 episodes. But they're pretty good, of just someone that doesn't really have a deep grounding in New Zealand culture or Māori culture or that sort of thing, and just discussing issues with each other as mates. It's exactly what we were talking about on previous shows about opening dialogues with people, and how to have those conversations. And I'm going to give it a listen tonight. And I think some of you might be right up your alley.
Just no, it's because I'm looking for it. Token, Token, and Unspoken. Because I'm struggling to find it. What's the?
I struggled. It's Instagram for a start.
Okay.
Token _ and Outspoken.
Come on. We love we here, and one of the things we here believe is that it's the rising tide lifts all boats. I guess we should probably preface it by saying we know nothing about these really, but we're going to check them out, and I'm interested in having a listen to that as well. And I can't find it. Struth, put it in the I literally can't.
It's just it's only on Instagram. I don't think they're anywhere else, as far as I can see.
But that's where I is. Look, see. That's where I is.
Underscore and underscore.
But I'm just
Did
looking
you
at the word.
Unspoken?
Token. You put the underscore in.
Spoken.
I know you put spoken.
Hey, Boomer, put the underscore.
Oh, shut up, Ginge.
Put the underscore
Oh,
in.
here it is in the chat.
Because in the
Jeez, Pat.
But I've just written token and unspoken. I've written the words.
Outspoken.
Oh, that's what I said. Outspoken. They'll find it then. Jeez. Okay, Boomer.
There you
Hey,
go.
look, you found it.
There we go.
This amazing live interaction has been brought to you.
Oh, we still broadcasting
by dyslexia, and boomerism.
All right, interesting. I thought you were going to say something about the Dutch friend. There's something to do with the Abel Tasman take on the world, but all right.
Well, look, if I was to be uncharitable, is that Dutch people are very blunt, very opinionated, and very stubborn.
Yeah.
Shout out to my mate, my South African mate. African.
Okay. I was about to say, as I was getting lost there with the wrong word. The Mountain Tui is a good example. I've been speaking to Mountain Tui over the last weeks. Mountain Tui is like, oh, thanks for sending us people our way at the start, and it helped getting, some more engagement and stuff. So I am always a bit nervous about pushing something that I know nothing about. But Chewie, based on your conversations, let's check out Token and Outspoken, and I might listen to some episodes as I'm driving.
The other thing I was speaking to this guy about was about his tamoko, and how some of the tech companies had sent some people over to New Zealand to try and get a way for facial recognition to work for people, because he can't open his phone with facial recognition because it just doesn't work. And I'm like, don't be in a hurry to help them do that. Like he goes, oh yeah, they're having real trouble with indigenous tattoos, facial tattoos around the world and facial recognition, and I'm like, that's a plus.
That's kind of interesting though, because Apple will say, do you want to scan your face? And if you say yes or no, and if you say yes, it says with or without a mask. So it can do your face scan with a mask on. So you'd think that's going to be your eyes, basically. And if it can do your eyes, then yeah,
they also have like a laser scanner in there as well. So they're talking about like the contours of your face on the top.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah.
Right.
But yeah,
right.
give it a go. I haven't had to listen to it. I'm going to listen to it.
Emily,
tomorrow.
Congratulations on experiencing your first Pat and Chewie divergent as we're trying to get to the end of the show, but struggle with a tangent. So welcome.
You've seen Magenta and I's episodes. We go for easy 90 minutes.
A couple of super chats and then we're going to go. Mr. Arvid says they have beds. They're in. Peter says just don't think of that queue on your wedding night.
Oh! Now you've made me think of. Oh no! Carry on.
Okay, and one more from Peter Sim. FMK Luxon Collins.
Wait, is Peter been doing that for every time he's wanting you to answer it?
No, I just keep putting it up.
You just keep bringing it up. I thought he was just really aggressively.
Yeah, no, Peter's paid $300 for me to
I was going to say
50 times.
So the point is, like,
oh God,
are you doing those things? Are you doing the fucking and killing in front of the other one? Because like that could change it. Like I would do things in front of Simeon Brown if it meant that it would break him.
We're done. Hey guys,
Moving
I'll
on.
see you. I will see you Monday. I'll see you during the break because we'll definitely do some call-ins and stuff from Waitangi whilst I'm up there. So I'll see you over the holiday. Thank you for the kind words about the wedding. I'll be back with Chewie Monday, the 10th of Feb. Up until that, Magenta and Emily, and tomorrow night, Magenta and Chewie and Emily kind of figuring out those following 2 weeks. But they'll be awesome. Support them heaps, and I will see you when I see you. I think that's about it.
Not joining us.
Settle a debate, whether it be thoughtful or funny, even if we're all creatures of hate. It's a fine line that we're walking together. For better, push aside the temptation to berate. Let's take a note of the corners we stand in. As many points as the hairs on my chin.
Saving up the dance for his wedding.
That we're watching is hairy. Knowing all the things that we need to be wary of. Like the rich have the hand out for rewards, while the many have to work at what they can't afford. And the rest of us ain't paying attention. Or maybe have questions we're too worried to mention. Other media is still dwelling on trivial facts.
Oh, that's really hot in the back of my throat. Like there is a heat to that. I'm sorry, team. I'm actually drunk. You're not aware of that. Oh, I've got nothing to share.
Saturday, mate.
I got to get it out before Saturday. That's what she said. All right, guys. Thanks for being with us tonight. Emily's in charge, Chewie. So be a good boy. And Emily, I showed you that special maneuver of how to put the hand up his back and twist him into submission should he get out of line.
Mm-hmm.
Just remember that. And remember, you've got his wife's cell phone number if it goes too far. She will crack him back
sure
into
do.
line. All right, guys. I'll catch you in a couple of weeks. Big Hairy News back in tomorrow night live from 9 p.m. People will see you when they see you. Hooroo!
Oh,
cheers, man.